Namaste dear friends, this is Vijaytilak from Victoryshine Associates. Today I am before you with a very important topic, that is Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005. Now, since ages, we have all known that our women have been suffering until this date. There are a lot of sufferings going on very silently, and they don't even know whom to approach, what to do. Whose fault is it anyway? Of course, it is our own fault because we are not aware of the laws. We are not aware of our rights. So, in today's topic, we are going to cover all these things. So, before we go into this subject, first of all, we need to know what is meant by domestic violence. Domestic violence is the violence committed by someone in the victim's domestic circle. That means the victim's husband, partner, in-laws, relatives, and some friends. So, another thing of importance is that this law, that is Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act, is civil in nature. It mainly deals with giving remedy to the victim by way of compensation or protection. It mainly deals with the protection of women. It is definitely not criminal in nature, because once it becomes criminal in nature, then the remedy is definitely going to be the punishment of the offender. Here, such things don't happen. Here, the main object is to provide relief, that is by way of compensation or protection. Now, when we go deeply into this domestic violence has been categorized into various kinds of violence. So now we are going to learn what are the different kinds of violence. The first of all, physical violence. Then comes emotional and verbal violence. Then comes sexual violence, and after which it is the economic violence. So first of all, when we are talking about the physical violence, what is it? Physical violence is nothing but the causing of bodily harm or injury to the victim by means of an assault or intimidation, like kicking, biting, beating, punching, throwing deadly objects, threatening the victim of dire consequences, taking deadly weapons like knife and screwdriver or whatever, and aiming at the victim, telling that if they do not obey to them, they are going to be killed. Then comes like offenses like, the husband ties up, the husband and his family, they tie up the victim and they're locked up in a room or a bathroom. Even the basic amenities such as, their food, clothing, water are not provided. This amounts to physical violence. Anything got to do with bodily harm, inflicting an injury, causing pain to the victim amounts to physical violence. Sometimes it so happens that in order to, terrorize the victims, they break things at home like fridge, TV, furnitures, and they show their might and their aggression towards the women. And then they bring them under control, due to which there are a lot of hardships caused to the women. So these are all coming under the ambit of physical violence. Then we are now going to talk about what is meant by verbal and emotional violence. Under emotional violence, there is an element called, mental agony suffered by the women. That is, they are being abused, humiliated before others. Any guests or relatives come home, the woman is called in before them and humiliated. She's being abused verbally. Her parents, her maternal relatives, they are all being abused verbally, used different words, they are called names, which is highly unbearable, which all leads to a lot of mental agony. She suffers psychologically. She is belittled before everyone because of her color, because of her height, because of her body, because she's fat. She's often compared to people, glamorous people who come on TV, or the husbands, or his relatives, friends, etc., which often leads to lot of mental agony. They feel, that they're being tormented. Mentally they suffer. They, physically, psychologically they are suffering, which all lead to lot of mental agony, and which in turn leads to depression. And finally, what happens is sometimes the victims often do attempt suicide or commit suicide. So all these leads to verbal as well as um, emotional abuse. Then the next category that comes is the sexual abuse, which is also very important. What happens is, at times the woman is not well, she's ailing from something, she might be having a monthly periods. At that time, the man forcibly has intercourse with her without her consent. That time, this amounts to sexual violence. Sometimes the woman might be pregnant, maybe after a 7th month, when she's definitely not advisable for her to have an intercourse. That time, when there's a force and an intercourse happens, that also amounts to sexual violence. Sometimes the husbands, under the influence of alcohol or under the drunken stupor, what happens is they picturize the love making. That is, the intercourse. When they're having the intercourse, it is being picturized, and he often threatens the woman that this will come out in social media if she does not obey him. That is a way of controlling them. Then the next type is forcibly having intercourse with her and then inserting certain foreign objects into her private parts. This also is highly offensive. So all this leads to a lot of discomfort and displeasure for the woman. So anything without a consent amounts to sexual violence. Then the next category is the economic violence. Now, what is an economic violence? When the husband or the partner does not provide the basic amenities to his wife and the kids, such as food, shelter, clothing, medical care, etc. It amounts to economic violence. Sometimes the wife has to beg, plead before the husband to pay the fees of the children, to buy something for the children. But he doesn't pay heed to it. So she suffers a lot. And financially, she has to run a family which, she's not able to without money. So finally, what she does is she borrows money, takes loan, which the husband does not help in repaying, for which she has to undergo a lot of humiliation. So all this amounts to economic violence. Sometimes it so happens the wife is always independent, she's educated, she's got a good job, but the husband stops her from going to a job or taking up a new job because he wants to control her. He wants to control her economic independence. He wants her to feel dependent. He wants her to be dependent on him. And after which he neglects her. So anytime a man neglects a woman financially, it amounts to abuse. That is economic abuse. So my dear friends, now you have a picture of what are the offenses which fall under the ambit of domestic violence. So if at all, anybody of us, it doesn't have to be the victim who has to make a complaint always. It can be anybody, her kith and kin. So if you all know that such things are happening among your circle of friends or relatives, your sisters, your brothers, it could be anybody who's suffering, please give them an awareness that this is not the right thing to do. They have to come out from that perspective where they have to suffer. They think that it is they have to suffer all along. No. Okay, maybe our parents Our culture teaches us, like, not to, exaggerate things, go to the police, whatever happens, it has to be in the family. Okay, to some extent, everything is fine. But then there is a limit for everything. If it goes beyond that, definitely you have to complain and fight for your rights. Because law is here to protect you. So don't let others take advantage of your situations. So let us spread this awareness. At least, you know your rights. You can spread it across to other women. And there are instances where, uh, men become victims. See, not all men are bad. Okay, sometimes what happens, sometimes women always play, you cannot say women are always victims. Sometimes man also become a victim. The man also can become a victim. How? Because our very own women, okay, for their own selfishness, what happens is once they get married, they are influenced by their mothers, brothers, sisters, their family to chase the old in-laws away from home. So the first thing they do is they come home, they insist, they tell their husband that their parents have to be sent out of the house, put in an old age home, and they put in their demands like that. Or they ask their husband to leave the homes and go and live separately. But if the husband does not oblige, then the women come up and use this section, this act, as a weapon against the husband and his family. So I request all our women folks who are, doing this, not to deprive the other women who are really suffering of their rights and privileges. Because this right is made, this protection is given to women who are really suffering. So let us not deprive them of this. So my dear friends, I hope all of you have understood this. If at all there is anything more, you can please put it down in the comment box so that I can reply to you. If you need any further assistance, you can contact me in the given number, or you can contact any of your legal practitioners of your choice who can be of aid to you. So my dear friends, if you have liked this video, please like it, and also do not forget to subscribe and also press the bell icon so that you don't miss my other videos. Now, another thing of importance is, now that I've explained about what domestic violence is all about, now my next video I will be posting what are the remedies, what are your rights, what are the things that you need to do to make a complaint, how it can be done. Because this protection, this law, that is this act, gives us, all sorts of rights. Right to taking protection from the police, right to shelter, right to medical aid, and above all, you can always make a complaint under that is the section 498A against the husband and family for harassment. So my dear friends, please do not forget to subscribe and press the bell icon. Thank you.